Hi everyone, we're going to get started now. Hello and welcome to Advances and Emergent Needs in Paleo-Geoscience Cyber Infrastructure, a webinar series organized by C4P. C4P Collaboration in Cyber Infrastructure for Paleo-Geosciences is an EarthCube research coordination network supported by the National Science Foundation. I'm Leslie Shee and I'll be the moderator today. In today's talk, we have two presentations, each 20 minutes with roughly 10 minutes for questions. We'll want to keep this to an hour, so I'll be fairly strict about enforcing time limits, and we'll give each speaker a 3-minute warning. If you have questions, send them through the WebEx chat window, and I'll read them aloud after the presentation. You can send in a question at any time. All presentations and follow-up discussion will be publicly archived on the EarthCube website and at the C4P YouTube channel at youtube.com/Cyber4Paleo. Our first speaker today is Laura Säilä from University of Helsinki, so thank you for logging in at such a late hour over there. And she'll be speaking about the NOW database. Our second speaker is Mark Uhen from George Mason University. He's one of the conveners of last week's C4P workshop, and he'll be giving the workshop report. So we'll begin with Laura. I'll pass you the screen, and you can start when you're ready.
Okay, thank you. I hope you can all hear me. So this is Laura Säilä from Helsinki, presenting on the NOW database. It stands for New and Old Worlds. You might have heard the previous name, which was Neogene of the Old World.
Laura, are you sharing your screen yet? Sorry, just checking.
It was saying.
Yes, thanks.
Okay, now it's there. Thank you. Okay, so I'm presenting on the NOW database on behalf of the whole working team. And NOW stands for the New and Old Worlds database of fossil mammals, and used to be the Neogene of the Old Worlds, but I'll come back to that later. The main coordinator is Cyber4Paleo, also here at the University of Helsinki, and associate coordinators are me, Jussi Eronen and Lars. And our office is here in Helsinki as well, but data development and other people are all around the world as well. Okay. So what is in the NOW database? NOW database is terrestrial mammals. That's all that is in the NOW database. The emphasis used to be on the European Miocene and Pliocene, and that's what the name of the Neogene of Old World used to mean. But currently we have African localities being added and updated, and North American localities will also be visible to the public during this year. And the temporal scale is also becoming a lot wider, so both Pleistocene and Paleogene localities are being added, so it's going to be the whole of the Cenozoic and all around the world, hopefully in the end. So that's why NOW and Old Worlds. We have an advisory board that covers all of the data types that are entered into the database. We have regional coordinators on the continental, regional, and country scale, stratigraphic coordinators, geology and taxonomy coordinators, taxonomy and ecomorphology, and paleoecology. And all the members of the board are professional paleontologists who have volunteered their expertise for the use of the NOW database. So these are the people who sort of have the last say on anything that's controversial, or if you don't know something where you're entering data. So who does contribute and who does use NOW database? The data are freely available throughout the web-based graphic user interface. There's no charge for membership or any other service provided, and we don't pay for data either. Username membership is open to all researchers who agree with our policy and want to contribute. Anyone who would like to become a member of NOW should contact the NOW office in Helsinki.
Laura, sorry for the interruption. I got some requests if you could please speak a little louder.
Okay, I'll try. I'm talking quite loud, but maybe the microphone isn't picking it up as much as it should. Okay, so I'll try. Okay, so users have different editing capabilities depending on their expertise and needs. But you don't need a username for just downloading data. You only need it if you're actually contributing or editing. Data sources. It's mostly published scientific literature, but also unpublished data generated by members from previously published data from media, from individual research projects, and personal communicators from advisory board members. So it's not just published data. On the protection side, locality collection data and their associated taxonomic list can be restricted to other database members or working group members or themselves for a limited time. So you can use NOW database as sort of your personal working database for a limited time before you want to publish something. So that makes it easy for you to include it there even before publication. Analysis facilitated by NOW database are many. They include relationships between fossil mammals, climate and environments, on community composition, trophic level, trait evolution, taxonomy, paleobiology, and so on. A lot of it has to do with climate and environmental modeling based on the mammalian ecomorphological traits that we found in NOW database. NOW database has different types of data within it, which are obviously all linked to each other. You won't be able to see the actual things that it says in these boxes, but it shows that there's references, there's locality table, a species table, and of course locality species correlation table that are all linked to each other, and they form the main part of the database. If we start with the locality list of the NOW database, is the list of all localities included in the database. At the moment, public ones, there's over 5,000 of them, and they can be searched by locality name, by country or continent, maximum age, minimum age, or combination of the above, and that's how the locality list view of the NOW database looks like. In a moment, I'm going to show you at the actual browsing how you can do it in NOW after I've gone through some of these different lists. In the locality, when you go into a locality, you see all kinds of information, and one of the most important ones is the age information of the locality. You can see the dating method that has been used for the locality, and the minimum age and maximum age. These two are compulsory information. Other information listed here are not compulsory, but obviously are good ones to be included. So there's all kinds of stratigraphic information and comments and things. So using either the absolute or time unit for your dating method, if you're using time unit, you can actually go into a select time unit window, and there's 647 different time units present at the moment based on Steininger and Woodburn, and you can use them as your time units, which will give you an upper and lower bounds. But you can also input these separately, so the maximum and minimum age don't have to come from the time unit, so they are not necessarily linked to each other. The idea is that the age of the locality should be recorded with the highest degree of accuracy as possible, and there's again the panel of stratigraphic coordinators that you can consult if you're uncertain about how it should be, but we aim to have all kinds of as good information on the age as possible. Other things that will find in the locality, the details of the locality, of course, name, country, latitude, longitude, status, and synonyms. So if the locality involves something else in any literature at any point in time. Then there's the locality species list, which is obviously a very important part of the database. And things that are locality specific things for species is ID uncertain, additional information, source name, and there are others, but these are the most important ones. So these refer to the publication, what is said in the publication of that species record in that specific locality, whether the fossil's ID is uncertain, if there is some additional information that is important, whether a different name to what the NOW database uses for that taxon was in that paper, and so on. Other things for a locality that you need to record are projects, so which projects it's linked to, and updates will also appear there every time that the locality information is changed and updated. We will leave a record so you can see based on what information has been changed. You can also see lithology, climate, and taxonomy museums information, but they are not as common. So many localities don't have those. But all localities have some species, and they have projects, and they have updated. So if you go through the species list instead of the locality list, it's a list of all taxonomic names included in the database. The public record at the moment is over 10,000. There are others that are not yet public. It can be searched by order, family, tribe, subfamily, genus, species, unique ID, or combination of the above. The others obviously are self-explanatory, but unique ID is usually a locality species that are unpublished and don't have an actual name yet, so they might have this unique ID, which then of course later when the taxon has been published will have a real name, but this way it can already be recorded in the database beforehand. So what is recorded then in a species? Well, there is the taxonomy, of course, and you can see the taxonomy window in here. You can also list synonyms, diet, locomotion, size, heat, localities, of course, like we showed in the localities. Then there's the locality species info, which will tell you what additional information there is in the localities that the species is in, and the updates as well. And now I'm actually going to show you quickly in our database on the species and how it looks like. So this is the starting page of NOW database. And we'll go to View Database, and here you have Enter Database. You can go into here, and you can go into Species. And here you can get what you want to find. So we're now looking at the Cyber4Paleo genus. And these S's here show that all of these taxa have synonymous names, so they have been at some point called something else, or so they can also be found with that other name. So we're going to look into this one, Matui. And this is the taxonomy page for it, showing the name, and its status is public. It has synonyms. It's being called Hipparion before it was Hipparion. In the diets, it says that diet 1 plants, diet 2 herbivore, diet 3 graze and grazer, and so on. It also has locomotion, size, so body mass and snout length, teeth, so which kind of teeth it has, ipsodont, gladiolopodont, then all the localities, and there's 2 pages for this taxon. Here's the locality species info, and so in some localities it's uncertain that it is this taxon. Then there's the updates, which will show you that based on whatever published information, just the update has been done. So these are the references based. Okay, going back to the presentation. The references reference list has listed all of the references included in the database, over 3,000 at the moment. Can be searched by author, year, title, journal, title, and reference type. Then exports and maps, which is obviously the most useful thing for most people if they actually want to use the data and not just look at the data. So I'm not going to go back into my database in a moment, but you can either choose export or show map while in either species or locality list, and it will open you a pop-up window with choices. And after you've made a choice of either choosing the now localities that you have been looking at, so if you've already done a search on specific taxon or specific locality name or area, you can say that those are the taxa or localities that you want to be seeing, or you can choose all now localities, which will then actually give you everything. And you can choose to include all the species lists if they're localities or not. If you're wanting to export data, you can export CSVs or text. And if you're wanting pictures, you can get JPEGs and EPS images in the border map option, and KLM files in both border and Google Map option. And I'll quickly show you how that works. So if you go into, let's say, this again, the variant this time, search. Now you can say show map. You select the map type, so either Google Map or border map. You have to choose one here. You can't change it after you can obviously come back and select again, but you have to choose one at this point. You say Google Map. It will open you Google Map, which can obviously be changed into also satellite if you want. Just the map. You can use it just like Google Maps, so you can scroll it and you can zoom in and so on. We'll show you all of the localities where this taxon is found. All of the red markings here are where this taxon is found, and all of the blue ones are where this taxon name is actually a synonym. You can choose to exclude the synonyms. So you do a search again after you've done a different choice, and in which case you don't get any of the synonyms. And you can say, if you're looking at, you can choose to go into the list view. So it will actually list all of the localities for you. So you can go between list and map. And obviously then you can also either export the list data or the map data. Very quickly, if you choose the other option, border map, you get a different type of a map. So it'll take a little while to come up. So it's just a different way of looking at the data. It is a map, but not a Google Map. This is the old style now map that you see here. So the Google Map is the more recent one. And in this one, you get a pop-up window showing you the localities that you need to have in it. Okay. Yeah, and here are the buttons that you can use to export the pictures that you want. And then if you're in the list view, you can get the CSV or copy paste that text here. Very quickly, when you're in Now database, if you go back into the main page of Now, you can see under data conventions, it tells you how everything is recorded in Now with examples, so you can learn more from there. And the browsing lists tells you exactly how to search for things, and browsing details, it tells you even more in detail how to find the information you want. And under the exports and maps, it will tell you how these work and how you can go between the different windows and options, and how you can export things, because you can actually, in the export window, use both species and locality searches at the same time, which you cannot do when you're just in the individual lists. But all of this you can find in the Now database website. Now let's go back into the last two slides. So that's how those work. Now database connected to another database that's also hosted from Helsinki, called the Morpho browser. It uses the same taxonomic tables as the Now database, and it's 3D visualization and searching tools for mammalian teeth, also accessible over the web, and that's the website address for it. It allows users to view a diverse range of tooth morphologies found in both extinct and mammals. So obviously for now it's mostly the extinct mammals, and digitized 3D models of teeth can be rotated on the screen. And in the future, many more taxa present in the Now database will have 3D tooth information in Morpho browser, so they will be linked more thoroughly with each other. Challenges of the Now database is not all datasets that have been added to Now are of equal quality, but we are revising the data at the moment, and it's ongoing all the time and an integral part of the Now project. Involves updating taxonomic information, morphological and ecological data, locality and age information, etc. So we are all the time trying to make Now database better. And thank you for your interest.
Thanks a lot for that presentation. We have a couple questions here.
Okay.
So the first question is that you mentioned synonyms, and taxonomies aren't necessarily standardized. So in our webinar, we have both domain scientists from the paleo geosciences and also maybe some more technical people who aren't very familiar with what these synonyms are. Can you give an example of synonyms? Is it just abbreviations, or is it a completely different name, or what?
Well, obviously, it sort of depends also which type of synonym. So the most basic type really, I guess, for locality synonyms, it really is just a different name for exactly the same place that has been used in different contexts. So I think it's quite self-explanatory what it is. But for species or taxa synonyms, it is usually quite often just that the species used to be classified differently, so under a different genus or a different name, and then the classification has changed. So we try and follow mostly the most recent classification, but if there is different opinions, then we do have the taxonomic coordinators, which we are listed in the website as well, to sort of have the last say. So we want to follow one taxonomic scheme, and then we do list all of the other possible names for that taxon that have ever been used. So that's one of the things that we're trying to do, and I am actually very heavily involved in that. So if somebody is interested in knowing exactly how that works, they can contact me about it.
All right, thanks a lot. The next question is, what's the status of the incorporation of the evolution of tertiary mammals of North America?
The status is that nearly all of the data actually is in the NOW database, but we're still going through certain taxonomical and also the ecomorphological data and working on so that the existing data and the North American data don't have that their cooperation doesn't cause problems in taxonomic or ecomorphological scale. But it is very much in there, and as soon as the last checks have been done, it will become public, and it will happen this year.
Okay, next question is, how do users communicate with the people who decide what are going to be the new features in the NOW database? And do you have some most popular requests for new features?
Well, you can contact information on everybody who's either on the NOW board, well, not the board members themselves really. Like if you want to contact somebody, it's best to do done through the NOW office, so Säilä or one of us associate coordinators, and we will obviously then contact whoever is relevant if there's a specific taxonomic coordinator or somebody else. But really, if it's a new feature that somebody would like, then definitely yes, contact us in Helsinki, because we have been updating how the database works over the last few years a lot, and we are happy to hear if somebody would still like something to be added, and if it is possible to include it, we're happy to talk to you about it. So please contact us if there is something that you would like to see in NOW that isn't there yet.
Okay, the next question is the database accessible to third parties via web services?
Sorry, I'm not quite sure.
I guess, can other databases access the data in this one sort of automatically through some web services, just database to database?
At the moment, we're not connected to any of the portals that share data from different databases. So we have been in talks about it, but it has not started yet. So at the moment, if you want the data from NOW database, you have to export it from the actual NOW database. So no.
Okay, those are all the questions we have right now, and I just want to thank you again for giving this presentation. I am going to move the screen share over to you, Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, can you guys see and hear me okay?
Yes.
Well, hold on. There we go. That's what I'm trying to do. Okay, so thanks all of you for attending the last of the paleobiology themed webinars, and I'm just here to sort of do a little wrap up and talk about our workshop that we just had last week. We held it last week, Wednesday through Friday, at the Ocean Leadership Consortium in downtown Washington. We had 39 attendees from the US and around the world, representing 30 plus different paleobiological infrastructure resources. So we tried to get a broad representation from things that were strictly paleobiology, from the geo realm, the bio realm, and other just basically cyber infrastructure people who knew about databases and how to connect them, to get a whole range of perspectives on the issues that we were talking about. So we did several different things. I sort of binned them into activities and discussions, maybe a little artificially, and just FYI, if there's anyone who is at the workshop on the webinar right now and I forget something or don't cover something you want to talk about, by all means, send a message to Leslie and we can bring it up at the end. The discussions were centered around 4 themes: the GWIDs, data sharing, geologic time, and taxonomy. We'll come back to those in a second, but first I want to talk about some of the different activities that we did. One was we surveyed people ahead of time. So we asked them about what resources they represent and how they share data. We got a lot of great information. It's a little hard to represent because a lot of it is sort of text-based, but we found a lot of similarities in how people are storing their data and how people are sharing their data, and so that's a good indicator that we can start sharing even more than we are now. And one activity we did at the workshop was we had people go around the room, and there was a piece of paper representing each of the resources at the workshop, and we had people write down who they were and which resource they represent and what data that they had that might be shared with other people and what data they might want to get from other resources. And this is a little network map of the different resources that were at the meeting and some of the interconnections between them. And the arrows represent the either present or desired data flow from one resource to the other. So you can see there's a lot of different things represented here and a lot of data either moving back and forth between these, or at least we have the potential to move the data back and forth between them. And so we hoped with this activity that we'd be able to visualize and concretize the ways that we could be sharing more data. Another thing that the C4P group is doing is we're creating a catalog of all the resources, and this is being housed at the Synergy project. This is a snapshot of a tool that they're using to catalog these resources. And you can see just visually that different kinds of resources have different icons. Some are databases, some are libraries. And you can go to that URL down there and you can actually log in and add more, because we hardly have them all. We're trying to catalog everything that's out there right now. So if you go to this catalog and see that your resource isn't there, you can create yourself a login ID and add more resources, which is what we're trying to do. Is in one sense, what all we're trying to do is make people aware of what's out there. And I've been doing this for a while and learned about several things I had never heard of before at this workshop. So that was part of the point. And so we actually spent some time looking at this cataloging tool and actually cataloging some resources while we were there and flushing out the data on others. That's an ongoing process right now. And if you want to contribute, you can do that. We also took about an hour and connected with another workshop that was happening concurrently in Kansas with the folks who run the specified database, and they're in the process of revising their data model for paleontological specimens. And so they thought we would have some ideas. This figure I just grabbed from a document that they sent us, which is their proposed new data model for paleontological information. And there was quite a good discussion. In fact, we created a breakout session with people who use Specify and had something to say about, or some ideas about this, and suggested some alternatives to this data model. So I'm hoping that the Specify project will be able to use the information that we're sending them to help craft a good and effective data model for the next release of Specify, which should be coming out soon. So we have a very specific outcome directed right at the Specify project. Another specific outcome of the workshop is that Danae Reed, who is there representing PaleoCore, suggested that the Darwin Core metadata standards, this is true, that they're widely adopted by the biological community, and there is a paleontology extension that exists to capture some of the data associated exclusively with paleontological specimens. It probably needs an expansion. So Danae proposed starting a TADWIG interest group just to look at the paleo extension and see what more we could do with it. And we had a good discussion and actually have a draft proposal to send to TADWIG, which we have to do in the next couple of weeks to get an interest group going. And we're including people from our workshop, outside the workshop, and to people who helped craft the original paleo extension to Darwin Core to get the history and also extend the Darwin Core into the future to meet the needs of paleontological specimens and paleo databases that are there now, and hopefully ones that will be crafted in the not-too-distant future. So one of the themes of our discussions was globally unique identifiers, and we all agreed that uniquely identifying all sorts of things would be very helpful, especially when we're about to share data, so we don't have data duplication. That way we can all share data easily. So one of the grids we talked about were the international geosample numbers for specimens. And this is not a comprehensive list. If I left off your favorite grid, please, this is just a brief summary of what's out there. There are several different systems for people. The ORCID ID for people is one of them we talked about. Obviously, documents like books and papers have DOIs. They're also available for data sets, and there's many, many, many others. But we all agreed that we should be trying to incorporate these unique IDs as much as possible, if only to eliminate data duplication and to enhance data sharing, so we don't all keep entering the same data in our databases and introducing error in doing so. We had a long discussion about sharing resources, about what types of data were most in common among these different cyber interest restructures. One is taxonomy. We just had a brief discussion of that with Now, and we talked about the different ways in which different resources actually hold taxonomy. Some sites use data services to serve up this data, and others don't do it at all, as we just heard from Now, and some actually can create IDIS files, which is a particular file format for taxonomic data. We also, many of us have occurrence data, and again, some are served up via data services, but we all expressed a desire to try to integrate the vast data stores in museum databases, because I represent Paleobiology database at the meeting. We're more of a data aggregator, but we do it from published papers like we just heard with Now. It's a very similar model, but there's a ton of data in museum databases that we're just not getting right now, which is of a different sort, but very related, particularly in respect to occurrences. We also expressed desire, want, longing for a shared database or data services for age and stratigraphic data. Currently, there are small services out there that have certain kinds of data about stratigraphic units and time, but they're hardly all in one place. And so we talked about many different ways about how to try and start to get that in one place, because time is one of the few things that basically all the different resources share in common. You know, it's what makes fossils fossils, the fact that they have some time depth to them. And yet, surprisingly, there is no database with data services out there to draw that data from. And we also want to share site and locality data, which is obviously related to the occurrence data, but the sites themselves have particular properties that lists of occurrences don't. I think there we go. So for taxonomy, there are lots of databases that currently exist for living organisms, but there's no comprehensive database for fossils. Again, Paleobiology database, which I represent, has a lot of taxonomy in it, and we are serving up via data services. But we don't have an expert-based taxonomy like we just heard from Now. We have one that's sort of put together from the multitude of opinions about every taxon. And we talked about the pluses and minuses of the expert versus sort of agglomerated approach, and think there's pluses and minuses to both of them. So it would be wonderful to be able to include both kinds of taxonomies and to be able to share them via some sort of common interface. Now, the nice thing about it is the Darwin Core standards already exist for this kind of data, but we don't have a common interface to draw them, to draw these together. So we're talking about some way to have a common interface to search all these databases, via their shared taxonomy, or to retrieve a different structure to the taxonomy, say get the now taxonomy for mammals and compare it to the one from Paleobiology database, or anywhere else, the one from Neotoma. So we ended up, we have a lot of goals, and so I just want to sort of give you a brief summary, and I grouped them into two batches. First, the set of goals for the near term. We formed several small working groups. We assigned certain tasks to little groups of people who have shared interests, and designated a leader to help do some things. One is we have a working group that's going to continue to work on that cataloging of the cyber infrastructure resources, and that we can use any help. Any of you can help with that via the link I shared before. As I said before, Danae Reed is going to form this Paleobiology interest group with Hedwig and hopefully propose this paleo extension discussion soon. Sky Bristol said he would lead a small group on the stratigraphic lexicon. There's several lexicons out there, including the one I'm most familiar with is GeoLex from North America, but there are others for other countries, and it would be nice to just even be aware of what's out there. So I think the first step is to get them into our catalog, and then see if we can't federate these somehow and give you one-stop shopping for resolution of stratigraphic nomenclature and hierarchies. The workshop is also working on a white paper, a report. This webinar report is sort of abstracted from our first draft. We just wrapped up on Friday, so it's still coming together. We hope to have that finalized within a week or two, and then we will post that to our website and distribute it far and wide. And we also talked at the workshop about our next webinar series and the workshop this fall with Springsteen Geologic Time. And you can, oops, sorry, I got carried away. If you're interested, you can participate in that webinar series. We'll be sending out emails about when we're going to start up again. We're taking a little hiatus while we get that together. And then the workshop should be sometime this fall on specifically geologic time run by Tom Olszewski. For the longer term, we have in the works where we decided we would like to put together a paper on basically standards for publication of paleobiological data. And the idea is that sometimes data gets lost in this published, but yet not published in some broader, more searchable format. And so we want to help authors to maximize the use of any data that they publish. And inclusion of data in tables as a supplementary file to your paper is a good first step. It basically is still isolated. And so we want to write a paper that just encourages people and gives some suggestions for people as to how to get their data most visible by putting it in a shared resource, like one of the cyber infrastructure resources that were represented at the workshop. We also want to keep developing data sharing among workshop participants. During the activity, we identified specific links between different databases, and people made some very strong pairwise agreements to actually begin data sharing or fix data sharing links that are currently broken. So we hope that those develop further on their own, but we also want to encourage even further cooperation with other EarthCube RCNs and building blocks to link out to people outside of our workshop and our paleobiology community to the broader earth science community and to the biological community as well, since paleo occupies this unique spot between geology and biology. We want to try to maximize the use of our data for people in both fields where they have different uses, but it's equally valuable to both fields, biology and geology. And lastly, we want to develop the infrastructure to have more data sharing beyond the span of the RCN. So we want to somehow set up a structure where we can keep these discussions going and turn those discussions into action. As I said, we've made some good pairwise links between people, but we want to keep this going in the future and develop some more funding and more action of sharing data between some of these resources. So lastly, I just want to wrap up. I know I'm a little short here, but by all means, you can add more to this report and look for our white paper on the website soon. I want to thank Joanna, who made all of our travel arrangements and got everything set up for us. I want to thank Leslie for keeping us all on track all this time with our webinars and taking copious notes of the meeting, which are proving to be very helpful in writing our report. Doug Phils and the Consortium for Ocean Leadership, who hosted all the participants who came and spent 3 days in Washington. I want to thank Jack Williams, who was my co-organizer and an essential part of this process. We couldn't have done this without him. And thanks to the NSF for sponsoring the RCN, and several people from NSF were able to attend and give us their input and listen to what we were doing. So if anyone has any questions, by all means, bring them on. If I forgot something from the workshop, if someone wants to mention it, please let me know.
Mark, thank you very much for that summary of our 2.5 days or 3 days. So we do have a couple of questions to start us off. The first one is, what can people do who are not able to attend the workshop to continue in these C4P Paleobiology discussions in the near term to contribute?
I would say, one, I went back to the slides. You can add to this resource list. That would be really, really helpful. If you know things that are out there that aren't in this catalog, you can log in and add some things to that catalog. Otherwise, I would say go to our website and find specific people who are working on things that you want to participate with. So you've seen all the webinars, or if you haven't, you can go back and watch them and see where you think you can contribute most. And I would contact one of the presenters, or as Laura just said, there's a whole list of people she showed to work with now, and just attach yourself, say, hey, this is what I'm up to, this is what I'm doing, and see how you can help. Because virtually everyone participated in the webinars. All the resources that participated there were also participants in the workshop. And so we're going to we have a lot of action items from our list. And so if you want to hop in and help, by all means, just offer it up and we'll take you up on it.
Okay, the next question is, the workshop participants had people from all the domain sciences, cyber infrastructure, museums, and libraries. Can you comment on any different perspectives or disagreements they may have had?
Yeah, it was really interesting, particularly seeing the difference between the perspectives of the computer guys versus, not versus, I don't want to say that, but just the differing points of view from the computer scientists and the domain scientists. And I think we had maybe just a smidge trouble communicating. We just talked longer, and we're using some slightly different language. And once we got beyond that barrier, I think everyone valued the different opinions that people had. So I don't think there's any real disagreements. It's more like we heard a lot of good advice. Like everyone kept nodding a lot. Oh, yeah, we should be doing that. And so it's basically, I think what we see is challenges in terms of funding and time to follow our own best practices. So we came up with some ideas, and we now need to turn them into, and we need to rely on our computer science colleagues and librarians and everyone else, and museum colleagues, to turn that into reality.
Okay, so those are the 2 questions we got so far. At this point, I just want to, again, thank the 2 speakers today. And also, let's see, this recording will go up on the YouTube site as usual. And as you heard, we'll take a little break over the summer and then continue again when we're ready for the new academic year, I guess. And you will get some announcements of that. So, Mark, do you have anything else you'd like to say?
no, just stay tuned for the next series, and thanks everyone for participating, and we'll see you soon.
All right, thank you.